To be continued. Again, Steve is from Colorado Springs. He's an avid video game player. He is always on online debates where he debates things such as science, evolution, religion, and hip hop. Steve credits these sites for honing in his critical thinking skills as well as his ability to communicate and articulate himself. As a first generation student, Steve was not sure if he was going to go to college until he had stumbled upon actually these two videos. It pushed him to go ahead and get his associates, and now he's going to go ahead and get his bachelor degree, like I said, in anthropology. Steve always wanted to work in a museum, so in order for Steve to work in a museum, he had to find how can he work in a museum. Steve was accepted to UCCS, where he plans to graduate in approximately a year and a half. Unexpectedly, when Steve got to higher education, he was shocked and surprised and happy. He didn't know that higher education could also hone his critical thinking skills as well as his communication skills, as well as his ability to articulate himself. So Steve was excited and happy that he's in school now. So that's basically Steve's background. I'm going to go ahead and jump into Perry's theory. But before Perry's theory, let me get to Erikson's psychological theory. So there's 8 stages in this theory. The first 4 actually happen before you get to college, so it's going to be the first 4 years of your life. In those, the first one is mistrust and trust, and they continue to go up. Right now, the theory that I am discussing about Steve that pertains to him is actually stage 6. I want to know how he got to stage 6, so I backed up to stage 5. Stage 5 is identity versus identity diffusion. In this stage, Steve basically shares part of himself, characteristics of himself with other people in order to learn. So he's learning his identity as well as what others have as their identity. So as Steve basically perfected that stage, he moved to the next stage, which is stage 6, which is going to be where Steve is basically fighting independence versus building relations, healthy relations. So at times Steve discussed how he's cutting relationships off because they're not really upholding the values that he wants to attribute to his life and the way he wants to be seen. So right now, Steve does have relations, but he's really focusing on himself instead of others. So with that, I moved to stage 7 and 8, where I see challenges for Steve. If Steve is having these issues, and I wouldn't say issues, but second thoughts of intermingling with others at this time, Steve is not going to get to that late stage 7, as we talked about in my interview. He's not ready for a relationship yet. He's still working on himself, and he's still discovering who he is. So once he does that, he'll go ahead and move into stage 7, and then go ahead and move into stage 8 after producing generativity, and move into stage 8, where he's going to go ahead and reflect on his life. So good, bad choices, wrong, right choices. What should I have done? What led me here? What am I going to leave as my legacy?